And
maybe that's why Sydney had such a good third quarter.
Players are running from here, there and everywhere to try and balance things up. In the end, I think we're sorted. The interchange steward below us, finally content with what he's seen. And we're off and away. Pike just stands, delivers. It's sharked well by Clancy Pearce. Griffin, the quick handball, missed Sheridan. He had Hanbury for company, who just raked it in, then had to squeeze it out. As Mitchell gathered over the footy, Kieran Jack out the back looked to win the contested ball. Jetta stood up and dropped it. Umpire called play on. Griffin had to bend a long way, couldn't gather the footy. In the end, Sydney prevails. Tumbling ball from Mitchell, and a nice mark taken by Nankervis onto the ground. Toby Nankervis picks himself up. What about that for a big man? You'd be impressed with that, Brogues. Left foot kick.
Start.
And he's found Brandon Jack. Inside attacking 50.
Poor marking by Freeman. Wow.
And unforgivable stuff, really. Ross Lyon will be disappointed with that. Mitchell just worked his way forward, marked uncontested. 40 from home, directly in front. Tom Mitchell today has had the 12 disposals, 3 kicks, 9 handballs. And a chance from 45 metres. He makes really good contact. He's hit it well. It drifts right, but it's good enough. And another goal for Sydney. They've managed to find a route to goal, even against the breeze today, and that's why they've been the dominant side. One super goal, I should say, 7-13-64. Fremantle 3-7-25. We've ticked up to 1 minute. Final term, the big fourth quarter for Big Four Holiday Parks.
Sydney Freo's defence was asleep there and letting Tom Mitchell stand inside 50 by himself is really un-Freo-like.
So this margin now has spiralled out of control. Sydney leading by 39 points on the Visit AubreyWodonga.com scoreboard. Another centre clearance victory for Sydney. This time Jack's wobbly one inside 50. Silvani and Kennedy, that's a good contest. Silvani lost out initially and followed up nicely as Tanner Smith was taken over the boundary line and out for a throw-in.
Too easy from the centre bounce. Uncontested, Jack just waltzed out of there. On a dry day, would have hit Kennedy lace out.
Well, they've picked up where they left off. 2 clearances to zip this final term on the Full Circle Financial Group stat sheet. As that one's knocked once again towards the boundary and out of play, left forward pocket for Sydney. Down the Drummoyne end, the right of screen if watching on. Great to have your company. Dean Brogan with Tristan Fernanda. This is the NAB Challenge Pride match. Great initiative by NAB to get it up. Great work by the AFL to sanction the game. Important message comes with it. And it's great to see it so well supported here in the Harbour City. As Subin to fend off a would-be tackler, just scrubbed the ball forward about 20 metres or so, eventually out, although the umpire says holding the ball, and it's going to be a Sydney free kick. So the pressure relentless. Ball pump long inside 50, pack forms, Nankervis front position, no mark. Mitchell read it well off hands. The umpire said holding the ball. He had a chance, didn't get rid of it legally. Fremantle a chance to move it out of their back line. Lockie well, a good kick to Duffy, who had it then spilt it. Picks himself up, did well to keep his feet. Now Sheridan looks inboard. It's a really
dangerous
risky
kick.
option in these conditions. Nankervis wanted to bend down, pick it up. Hanbury said, big man, just stand there and shepherd. Umpire eventually picked out a free kick. Was Hanbury taken high, I think. Advantage paid. Robinson lost his footing. Kennedy back in there. Managed to get a boot to ball. It floats inside 50 for Sydney. And Johnson really clean. Showed a bit of dash, gathered. Now hits 5. He's got open spaces in front of him. 2 pairs inside 50. Unfortunately, he spilt the mark. Made it tougher for himself, but he looked in towards De Boer, who comes in from the side and takes a very good mark for Fremantle.
He got lucky then, 5. He dropped an absolute sitter. But the quality of him, he re-scooped it up and brought the kick inboard, and a fantastic mark and a set shot here.
De Boer kicked the 1 goal earlier. It came in the second term, off the deck in amongst 25 players in the goal square, it seemed. Has a chance to break a flurry of goals that went the way of Sydney. Will be just a mere consolation goal. He kicks from 45 and does very well indeed. De Boer has 2. Fremantle has its 4th. They move to 4-7-31. trailing Sydney. One super goal, 7:13.64, ticking up to 5 minutes in this big fourth quarter. Big4.com.au when you're looking to take your next break. Take your family and friends to one of their fantastic parks at 180 great locations across Australia. They margin back to 33 points. The rain has done little to affect the spirits of the crowd in attendance here. Lovely setting in Drummoyne, in the west of Sydney. It started off as a reasonable day. We know it was blustery, and the rain came. At the moment, it subsided as Parker was stripped of the footy. Kieran Jack, clean hands, did well to get a handball to Rowan. He hesitated slightly, and it cost him in the end because Clancy Pearce closed down the space, and the ball will now be thrown up. Good tap by Griffin, well read by Kieran Jack. Parker, the unfashionable kick out of traffic. Here's Lloyd. Looked up, then he dropped the footy. Here's Crozier, haven't seen too much of him. Turned onto his right boot, inside 50. Main met it solidly. Haney was there, probably just experiencing some time down in the back half. And Sydney, resolute as ever. Smith now to Grundy, who looked one way, came out the other. Lloyd marked, and now he kicks short to Hanbury at right half back. Cuts inside, his kick had a bit of air, but Jack stretched and marked. That's Kieran Jack. And now he wants to move it into the corridor. Risky option to Goods, but he was pushed. And almost tunneled the second time today. Silvani's tried that on a Sydney opponent. As Goods goes short to Shaw, he marks, draws the player standing on the mark. Rowan's kick almost intercepted by Griffin. Tanner Smith there, he retreats by hand, and Subin assesses it well. Pierces a ball onto the chest of Duffy. He comes inboard, just loops one centrally. Neil marks. He's got players streaming forward. He wanted to get a hurry on. In the end, he should have perhaps waited a tad. Jeddah, hot and the hammer of Weller, good enough to get his handball away though. 49 metres out, Johnson goes for goal and pulls it across the face for a minor score.
They look like their half-back line starting to run off a bit and take a few more risks. Fremantle, they look like they're getting their game going. As we know, they're a very good defensive side. They turn it over at half-back, then they just counter-punch. 32-point lead still for Sydney on the Visit AlburyWodonga.com scoreboard. As that time, Mitchell has one slew off the side of his boot, out of bounds on the full. And Fremantle with the resultant free kick. It's going to be Ibbotson on the outer side. He'll kick long, he'll kick in hope. Aptness caught behind, just about held Grundy. Umpire called play on. Shaw at the fall of the ball, mopped up well to Parker, and now Jeddah. Mitchell, he got his hands away despite being tackled. Gill gathers 50 from home, no clean possession. Duffy, good handball to Neil. Stands, delivers, wobbly ball to the hot spot. Fife did well against Rowan and took a Henty property mark of the day contender. You'd back him every time one-on-one in the goal score, wouldn't you, Tristan?
You certainly would. Near the left hand behind post, he steps out, he snaps around the corner and goals. And Nat Fife undoubtedly has been one of their shining lights. 14 disposals, 2 goals on the Full Circle Financial Group stat sheet. Remember, visit fcfinancial.com.au if you want to save up to 50k. And the Dockers cut the margin back to 26 points. 5-8-38, trailing Sydney. 1 super goal, 7-13-64.
Definitely playing with a lot more energy this quarter. I think it's important for Fremantle to at least get something out of today's game and winning the last quarter. And I mean, the game's not over yet, but to go home on that plane and say we had a really good last quarter and take it in next week would be pleasing for them as a team.
So the ball now back in the centre. Naismith to do battle with Clark, who rose high, won it down. Kennedy's been so good in tight. We'll get his numbers in a tick. He's been quite prolific as the Swans win the clearance. Everyone waited except Sheridan, who gathered in mid-air and was tackled. Taken to ground, we'll see a throw up on the paint of 50. Sydney into attack. As Kennedy's numbers read 8 kicks, 21 handballs, 29 disposals. His kicking efficiency a little ordinary at 38, but 17 contested possessions, 3 tackles. It's a fairly handy day out.
Stock standard for him, isn't it?
It certainly is. Fife came third man up. Sheridan almost pushed. Umpire said play on. Another one for Kennedy, this time off to Brandon Jack. They got around some trouble. Heaney to Nankervis, look out, big man. His handball intercepted. Fremantle clear the danger zone momentarily. Although Sydney with numbers, Xavier Richards has his first involvement. He gathers, he kicks long down the skinny side kick, and Heaney.
Here he is again.
Good grab by the young man. And what about the applause he earned from the Sydney faithful? He's already got a loyal fan base. He kicked a great goal earlier. Now a chance for a second.
Terrific mark in these conditions. I can see what all the fuss about. This kid is going to be a star.
There's so much poise, that peripheral vision in tight, and a really versatile player at that. Tight angle, but Heaney comes in and pushes it right across the face. Minor score. Unfortunately, couldn't capitalise that piece of play with a straight kick. But a 27-point lead nonetheless to Sydney as Ibbotson goes long and direct down the centre. Parker one-on-one with Fife. Duffy just scrambles a kick forward. Walters overran it at ground level. Well done by Griffin to soccer it inside 50. Main the quick gather. Duffy was upended. Main went back in to help him. Clark had it, lost it, and amongst plenty of hands. Shaw hurried the kick outside defensive 50. And Tanner Smith took a nice mark. Broadcast swing, goes short to Neil. What to play on. So here's Silvani, centre circles, off 2 steps, kick long. Walters almost held from 3 deep. Umpire let play go. Here's Lloyd. Just looks up ahead. Pike was outnumbered. He has to reach over the top of Smith. Just about took the mark. Heaney going to ground, tried to handball. Pike has 5 to beat. Numbers should prevail for Fremantle. They do. Sheridan out the back. Ibbotson slung as he got rid of it. Fortuitously ends in the lap of Smith. Off to Subin. Pavlich up high. Hit it hard. No mark. As Main went back to Walters. Snap round the corner. And Fife in good position. No mark taken. Umpire said good contest. Play on. Kennedy applied the pressure, then just tumbled it, looking to clear the danger zone. Parker mopped up, got it to Rowan. Cotton, his hammer was Crozier. Good chain of handballs in the end for Sydney. Parker met a brick wall. Handball partially intercepted, so Fremantle another chance as Subin will look to pull the trigger from 51. It started out left, it didn't come back. And another minor score, but they're pressing and pressing hard.
They are. The game's gone up a couple of notches. Fremantle have really come out to try and win this last quarter. And it's the Fremantle we've come to know over the last couple of years. They're starting to play some really good footy right now.
It's big fourth quarter for Big Four Holiday Parks, big4.com.au. That ball went out of bounds on that outer side. Lockie Weller looking to intercept. I reckon there's probably about 12 minutes left. They're ticking up to 13 minutes. And of course, the last 5 minutes time on is played. As Clark rises high, then does his own roving work. Wobbles one inside 50. Johnson in unfamiliar territory. Scoops at the way of Duffy, who stands, delivers round the corner. Another behind.
That would have made it interesting.
They're coming. Good quarter so far from the Dockers. Smith fumbled, had to hurry a kick. Main was pressuring him, and perhaps for Dockers supporters, they've applied the pressure, kept it in their forward zone. Sydney hanging on grimly. The Dockers kicking with the aid of a 3 to 4 goal breeze, I suppose you'd say still, Dean. And the margin 25 points in favour of Sydney.
Sydney are trying to get numbers behind the ball, but Fremantle are coming down to man them up, so it's one-on-one all over the ground. You see Johnson pushing forward on Rowan. Rowan's tried to drop back in the hole, but Johnson's gone to man him up. So it's one-on-one all over the ground.
And all players in one half of the ground, that being the Fremantle attacking half, as the umpires picked out a free kick. It's going the way of Sydney for holding. And Mike Pike will just slow things down, look to settle. The Swans look to just regain some composure. Kicks long. Big fly there, that Nankervis. Punched away from him, though, out for a throw-in. Clearances have evened up slightly, but they're coming from a long way back. There's still 6 to 3 in favour of Sydney in this final term. Disposals 45 to 53 in favour of Sydney. Ball in dispute, half back for Fremantle. Subin bent down, went in hard, couldn't gather. Big pack forms. Umpire is left with no choice but to throw it up. 60 metres out from Sydney's goal. Fantastic setting here at Drummoyne in the inner west of Sydney.
Yeah, you can tell Fremantle have come to play this quarter. Contested possessions are fairly even. Clearances are 4 to 6. They're your key KPIs during the game, and they've really evened them up this quarter. And it's no secret why they've kicked a few goals and got back in the game.
Canterbury 50 metres to Clark in the end. Not sure what that was for, but it'll bring him to within range. So he's in super goal territory. You'd think he'd have a throw at the stumps. 55 metres out, Zach Clark. Deliberate approach. He's got a fair hit on that. It's a fantastic kick.
It's made it interesting.
9-point super goal for Fremantle. And that cleared the fence by about 15 metres. A thumping kick from Zach Clark. Makes the margin 25 points. 5-10-40 the Dockers. In fact, one super goal, 5-10-49. It didn't look enough. Sydney, one super goal, 7-14-65. So 17 points the margin. Things get a little bit tight.
Just from an injury point of view, we saw Reece Shaw just hobble off before. Looks like he might be in a bit of trouble, so keep an eye on that.
Not good news for the Swans below us.
It looks like Buddy's been subbed out as well, so not sure what's going on there. Might be a loads thing or he might be injured. We'll find out.
As much word as we possibly can. Hill came through solidly from half back. He's scrubbing kick round the corner. It's trapped well by Neil. He's done really well, the young man. So too Blakely. Look away handball to Sheridan. Walters was taken high, and the umpire not officiating. Picked it up from the Dockers half back region. And it's good these four umpires. They're spotting a lot of incidents. Paying the correct free kicks as the Dockers go inside.
Terrific
50.
kick.
Great kick to the path of Main. Just set it up, allowed Main to run into it. And he marked 25 to 30 metres out on a slight angle.
Poor defence by Sydney. They had enough time to get back and close off the leading lanes. Didn't do it. Looks like they've switched off this quarter, and Fremantle look like they're going to get right back in the game.
Well, Main has kicked the 3 behinds today. Just the 7 disposals on the Full Circle Financial Group stat sheet. But this one, perhaps the easiest of the lot. Well within kicking range to cut the margin to 11. Main delivers. They're lifting the Dockers. Sydney perhaps stopping. And the margin 10 points. I think I said 17 before. It was, of course, 16. Sydney one super goal, 7-14-65. Fremantle one super goal, 6-10-55. And there's time yet, Brogues, in this big fourth quarter. Big4.com.au.
We've got a great last quarter here, and the breeze looks like it's died a little bit. Conditions are good. It's not raining. It's a really good contest here.
We've edge clearing contested ball inside 50s, 12-7 in favour of Freo. Crowd going nowhere. Great finish to this game. Fife the clearance. Griffin in the end off the deck. Another inside 50 for Fremantle. Rampy leads Main to the footy, and Main follows up with a strong tackle on Smith. Ball still in dispute. Crozier bent down, no free kick, and it's tight and it's tough. Good follow-up tackle by Crozier. Ball locked in, 52 from Fremantle's goal. Ticking up to 19 minutes now. 5 third man up. Jetta just flicks it back the way of Sydney, but only kept it in momentarily. Ball out of bounds for a throw-in. Right half forward for the Dockers. Crowded forward 50. All one-on-ones, interestingly, Brogues.
Yeah, it's been a tactic of seeing. We see Johnson's gone down and man up their spare. I think it's actually worked for him this quarter.
Pike wanted down, coming through Neil. He was stripped of it. Chance for Subin, throws ball to boot towards the hot spot. Aptness, one bite, no mark. Ball at ground level. Lloyd gathered really cleanly, trying to get a handball away. Laidler came through solidly. Walters pushed off the footy. Here's Weller, who wanted to win the contested ball, the young man. Eventually they were ball up, and it'll take place 40 metres out from Fremantle's goal. A 10-point ball game now in favour of Sydney. They're led by 33 at three-quarter time, but the Dockers have come with a surge. They've been very lively indeed in this final term.
You can see Pavlich down here barking out instructions. They definitely want to win this game. They're not putting the cue on the rack at all. They want to get something out of this. Pavlich is barking instructions for all the forwards to get back to the goal square and give some space around this stoppage. There's one-on-one all over the ground.
And a lot of players around this footy, as you'd expect. Umpire Fisher, former player, good to see him embrace the player umpiring pathway. Lloyd, look out, got hands free. Mitchell off to Kennedy, upended by Lockie Weller. Good tackle. Sheridan's been fairly prominent today for Fremantle. Liked his game as we look at the stat sheet for Tom Sheridan. He's had 13 today. So perhaps consolidating a spot in this side. Obviously tough to edge out some of the more experienced heads, but he's doing his very best. Fife couldn't get boot to ball. In the end, Neal fashions a kick forward over the head of Aptness and Grundy, through for a minor score. 9-point ball game. Sydney leads, ticking up to 21 minutes. There can't be all that long left, you wouldn't think. As Jetta was pinpoint with the kick to Rowan from the kick-in. Rowan will be called to play on. He is now. Kicks long to a one-on-one. Ball hangs up. Silvani in from the side. Didn't take the mark. Did well, though, to edge it forward for the Dockers. Here is Crozier to Walters. His handball a little bit high, and Rowan just swats it out. And the umpire says, throw it in, please. Could this be the last roll of the dice for the Dockers?
They need a 9-pointer, don't they?
Rain begins to fall again. 65 plays 56. Big fourth quarter for Big Four Holiday Parks. Pike to Walters. He ducked his head. He was taken high. Umpires missed that one.
That would have been a 9-pointer free kick too.
It would have. And Walters not all that happy. The ball will be thrown in. Paid to 50. Left half forward for Fremantle as we tick up towards 22 minutes in this final term. Crowd says it's close, but we've had enough as this rain continues to fall. De Boer tried to spin out of traffic, couldn't do so, ball locked in.
Sydney got all their numbers in defensive 50, only one forward at the moment for Sydney. Just trying to shut this game down.
3-on-1 if Sydney gets a clearing kick, so Dockers well positioned out there. Parker tried to get a kick away. Here's Fife. Just played tunnel ball to paddle it towards Max Duffy's advantage. He slipped over. Very trying conditions. Here's Kennedy. Somehow got a kick away out towards this broadcast side. Good contest, Hanbury and Neal. Eventually edged over as Jetta and Sutcliffe exchange pleasantries. Ball to be tossed in. Continues to come in sideways. Somehow we've escaped the rain, Brogues. Five, front and square from that stoppage. Throws ball to boot. Towards the hot spot. It was touched, so play on call. Smith goes back with that fist. Rampy traps, then walks out of play. Umpire says he was corralled and was entitled to do so. So deep inside the Dockers zone, we tick up to 23 minutes. 65 plays 56. Visit albury-wodonga.com scoreboard. Clark front position. Pike had the second bite of it. Kieran Jack comes away. Suits Tanner Smith, though. He was in best position. He didn't take the mark. It might have been a crucial contest, Brogues, because he would have been within super goal range. Ball off hands, out for another throw-in.
Would have been a tough mark in these conditions, but that last clearance by Jack, absolutely brilliant. Balked the handball, then got it out of the danger zone. Real captain's possession there.
And the umpire just telling the ruckman to separate. And they eventually do. A shallow throw in into the breeze. Good contest. It's slippery as Clark just edges it towards the boundary line. It's out once again. So closing stages. It's become a thrilling finish. Ball spinning back into play. Good contest in the ruck. Jack had his head over it. Umpire said he wasn't infringed. Neal was stripped of it by Parker. Here's Hill. Looks to square it up to the hot spot towards Pavlich. Punched away from him really well. Still a chance for Pavlich. He had it, he lost it. It's like a cake of soap. As Mitchell leads the race to the footy ahead of Duffy. Watches it out of play. Ball to be thrown back in once again. As Lockie Neal below us looks to have sneaked off the ground with a corky. Didn't think he'd return, but what an involvement he's had. 32 disposals today for Lockie Neal. continues to grow in stature. Ibbotson slid in, gave away the free kick, and that you'd think might just do it. Tom Mitchell will take the free kick. Time will keep ticking as we tick up towards 25 minutes.
Just want to go long down the line here, get it out, get another stoppage.
He's given the hurry up. Ball out the back. It's actually going to bounce fortuitously for Sydney. A chance. Robinson just kicks into space.
Smart kick.
And Towers, the race on was Silvani. The desperate lunge by Silvani, he did well. Towers followed up. The Dockers on the last line. Blakely and Weller, the two youngsters combined. Eventually the pressure enough.
Smart kick just to kick that into space. Instead of having a shot, puts it into space, gets it out of bounds. Sydney forward 50 stoppage.
And this rain getting heavier.
This is crazy. It's like a typical winter's day in Melbourne, not Sydney.
The crowd has had enough. And I think the Swans will cling on for victory. Front position Pike. Robinson clean hands out the back. Parker. Kieran Jack to seal the deal on his left. He blazes away. Misses everything. And maybe one last roll of the dice for Fremantle. One super goal, 7-14-65 the Swans. The Dockers, one super goal, 6-11-56.
Another injury maybe?
It's Lockie Weller, who's coming to the Fremantle bench, just in the hands of the physio.
Shoulder.
And we'll update scores around the ground in a moment. Smith, tumbling ball inside 50. No clean possession for a Swans player. Subin did well. Ibbotson's kick smothered. Important smother in the end for Sydney. Hanbury sliding, laid the handball the way of Parker, who just grubbers one inside 50. Tanner Smith has been good today for Fremantle. That time he just makes it someone else's problem towards the outer side wing. Chance for Aptness. Had to bend down a long way. Off hands out for a throw-in. So we tick up to 27 minutes.
It's been a long last quarter, hasn't it?
Certainly has been. Elsewhere, it's Carlton leading Collingwood, although we'll make sure those scores are fully refreshed. It was a score close to half-time, so haven't quite got the update as yet. De Boer enters, he takes the mark.
This will be a 9-pointer. He's marked it outside
marks
50.
On 50.
This 9-point range? It is.
It is 9-point range. De Boer, perhaps the final kick. He doesn't make good contact. It falls short. Rowan front position. The Dockers lurk ominously. Blakely could have been nudged. Umpire said play on. Eventually out the back came Cunningham. And that'll be all she wrote. Thrilling finish here at Drummoyne. The Dockers despondent, but at least have something to take into next week. And Sydney victorious by 9 points. One super goal, 7-14-65 Sydney. The Dockers one super goal, 6-11-56. And let's have a listen to the song. In the end, a 9-point win to Sydney in the driving rain. The goal kickers for Sydney, 2 goals to Bird, singles to Heaney, Parker, Hanbury, Cunningham, Mitchell and Franklin. While for Fremantle, 2 goals to Fife and De Boer, singles to Main, Subin and Zach Clark. All in all, Brogues, a game that was... It's really difficult to describe because Fremantle was out of it for 3 quarters. They came home with a wet sail and made it a really exciting finish for all concerned here.
Yeah, they did. You know, they just never looked like getting into the game for 3 quarters. Sydney were fantastic. They were winning the contested possession, the clearances, all the hard stuff. And Sydney actually got a bit of the Fremantle disease. They fell asleep in the last quarter.